We gotta move on.
Yes. To something that prays it gets a season 2.
So, episode 8, the poorly titled episode 8, The Acolyte.
Episode 8 of The Acolyte is The Acolyte.
Which, when the show was dropped, it didn't have a title. It just said episode 8. So they added The Acolyte like the day after it dropped on Disney Plus, which was the funniest fucking thing ever. Because I remember I went that day, first day it dropped, I went and looked. I'm like, there's not even a fucking title. It just says episode 8.
It's incredible to me that they can spend so much money on this show, where each episode is more expensive than all of Godzilla Minus One.
Yes.
Each episode, they could spend this kind of money and just not care.
Yeah.
And just not care about any of it, about selling it, about how it's presented, about how it's paced or how it's written or how it's directed. They truly do not care about any part of it.
No.
And it's hilarious. It's incredible.
Okay, so I think they need to retitle this show, not The Acolyte. It's Jedi Suck.
Wannabe.
Because the Jedi suck so bad. Not only is Saul the worst Jedi ever.
We've moved so this was the nail, well, one of the like 6 nails in the coffin for this for me, because like this show already sucked to begin with. Coming into this episode, it fucking sucked. But then you have this scene between the director's wife, and John Jones from Supergirl. I don't know why Martian Manhunter is in the Senate, but hey, you know what?
Nestra is her name.
Yes. And basically, the guy who plays Martian Manhunter, David Harewood, basically accused the Jedis of being heretics and religion power brokers, where they just hide behind religion and use it only for their own benefit and don't actually believe any of the things that they espouse, and they're heretics and zealots. They're heretics and zealots. And I'm like, the Jedi are heretics and zealots. And you're not going to pose any argument on this. You're going to pretty much just agree that that's true. And then the entirety of episode 8 is written like that is the case.
Yeah.
All the heroes are all villains now.
Yep.
All the villains are now heroes. What the fuck are you talking about? What is happening?
And when they introduced that character, all I could think is, this is Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
But in Star Wars.
Stop putting politics in my fucking nerd shit. I leave the world that I hate.
Exactly.
So I can escape to this. It's literally called escapism, you stupid bastard.
Are you hearing that, the boys? For your next season? Are you hearing that for your next and final season?
Oh, well, they've so far leaned into it at this point.
It's done. Okay, so the worst Jedi I ever saw.
Yes.
Is taking May back to Brendok.
Yes.
And then sends his location to the Jedi because he feels
even though he just left. He leaves.
Yeah.
He leaves like he did something that he is terribly guilty of, that he's trying to hide from the Jedi. And then he arrives at the other planet and he's like, okay, let me call the Jedi.
Let me tell him where we are. It's so bad.
Why did you leave?
So bad.
You were already waiting for them at the other planet. Why did you leave? Just to call them again. Oh, and then we have one of 2 moments that I knew was never going to be explained as soon as it happened for no fucking reason. So Saul and May are having this back and forth, and then May picks her cuffs, tases Saul, and runs out. And she steals a ship, and she goes in between the rings of a planet, which is interesting. We're not going to get into that, but I don't think that's how that works at all. Captain, we have to have metal detectors and scientific equipment. And so Saul is chasing after her. She says, he'll never come in here. He comes in immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
and with like, I can't tell if his ship was taking damage or if why she thought he wouldn't do that. And then he's lining up something. We don't know what. He's not fingering a trigger or anything. But you see like that classic Star Wars tracker where it's trying to maintain lock on something. And Basil says, no, you can't kill any more people! And he pulls all the electronics out of the wall. And it's never explained!
I hate that character.
It's never talked about. It's never explained. Both characters crash on the planet as a result. Nobody has anything to say about this. Nobody says anything about this.
Basil might be one of the worst characters ever introduced in any science fiction.
What was the fucking point of that?
I don't get. And his whole thing is he was up in arms because he hated May.
Because he hated May.
And he wanted everyone to know where May is. And then now he has a chance to take May out, and he's like, no.
Or damage her ship or something. Yeah. We don't know that Saul was going
Saul's
to
not gonna kill her.
Because despite how they want to rewrite history, Saul is not some crazed killer who's going around murdering people. Yeah. That is not the plot of the story, though they really want you to think that's the plot of this story, is that Saul is just this maniac going around killing people all of a sudden. No, that's not a fucking thing. I don't know where you came up with that. It makes no fucking sense. It's like how they keep on trying to sell it to us that May is innocent and did nothing wrong, and that everybody dying in that coven was all Saul's fault.
Yeah.
No.
Not even a little bit.
You showed us what happened. That's not what happened. It's not his fault. And no matter how many times you keep on telling us that it is his fault, you showed me what happened.
Yeah. So we know it's not his fault.
What? You don't want to say at any point that you were trying to protect the kids from their mother who was about to absorb their force energy to turn herself into something else? You don't want to bring that up at all?
No, not at all.
Or were the bodies moved? You know, because she was on the balustrade at the top, the veranda, whatever you want to call it, and then she was suddenly down in that cave with everybody else. We're not going to get into that.
And I love to point out, you talked about it with May on her laying on her table. That little droid of hers is the greatest plot device, because it's like, okay, she needs to get out of her cuffs, and then she needs to disable Saul in every way, shape, or form. You know what? It'll pick the lock, and then it'll tase Saul because we need it to. It's like, what the fuck? This thing squirts shit in people's eye and fucking it does everything.
But it's not a droid. It's not an astromech. It's a pip droid.
It's a pip droid.
Different. Yeah. But that's different than the pit droids that are in pod racing.
Yeah.
Which are the little
bump their nose.
Yeah. So like I hate this.
It's so
I
bad.
hate everything about this. Bad. So meanwhile, you have Smilo Ren and Osha, and Osha has a bad trip inside the sensory deprivation helmet.
Yep.
And she starts doing something to...
She sees May kill Saul.
And so somehow she starts doing the thing that Anissa was doing to Badwig Badbeard.
Torben.
And so now she can do that to Smilo Ren. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take you to find Soul. And we're going to just see who gets to their quarry first. And it's like, what the fuck? Okay, I guess. Whatever. I don't get this idea, but whatever. Okay. So they go. They all land on the planet. They all land on Brindok. Meanwhile, the director's wife gathers all the Jedi. I'm sorry. I just find it so frustrating. Anytime nepotism of this level shows up. Like, if Rebecca Henderson, who plays Venestra, was better, I wouldn't be bringing it up.
Yeah.
But she's not. So I'm going to bring it up.
And it's like, it's fair game to bring this up because people brought it up with Kate Capshaw and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
It would have, if it was anybody else, this would be brought up. Yeah. The rules don't change just because Leslie Headland is in charge of this thing.
Yep.
As much as she wants you to believe that all the rules change when she gets in charge of something, rules don't fucking change. You can't cast your wife as one of the leads in this show. You just, if she's going to perform like this, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to.
Yes. I don't want to. Let's not harp on that.
Kick Ness. So Venestra brings a bunch of Jedi, including Mog, who I'm so sick of.
Yes,
so wildly sick of. The world's oldest Padawan.
Yeah.
How old are you supposed to be when you're done being a Jedi? Because Osha washed out because she was too old to start, but this guy can still be a Padawan. Yeah. This guy,
and this guy. Like he is a direct chimney sweep from like some 1800s British.
No, he was in My Lady Jane as a dumb knight.
Well, there you go.
So like he's just a British comedic actor.
Yeah.
He's a character actor who I don't mind being here if he wasn't like one of the better Jedi. Yeah. Like that's what really bothers me is that this guy somehow is one of the better Jedi in this entire show. And he's still stupid and I hate looking at him.
Yes, he's dumb.
Compared to everybody else, somehow he's still better than the vast majority of the people in the show. How is that possible? I don't fucking know. But here we are.
Yeah.
So Saul lands on the planet and so you can use the Force.
Yes.
So you can use the Force to look around and get a sense of where other Force users are. You can do this. You are capable of doing that, because Lord helps me, for the last 7 episodes, all you've shown me is that you are fully incapable of doing that one thing.
Yes.
And then they have the audacity to do it again. Because Vanessa does the exact same thing, where she can pretty much read an entire moment, you know, like a good Jedi would be able to do.
Yes.
It's not that I'm angry that she can do it. I'm angry that you took us through this whole stupid cavalcade, ignoring this one power that would be super useful in so many situations. And then at the very end, you're like, oh, yeah, they can do that. Fuck you. You know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You don't get credit for getting here late. Fuck you.
And then we got to go back to Osha, and I'm still going to call him Ezra Miller.
Well, he doesn't have a name. He's now listed as the Stranger in
I thought
episode
it
8.
Quimir.
He was Quimir.
Quimir,
but now, if you look at his IMDb for episode 8, he's listed as the Stranger, because Quimir was revealed to be a fake identity.
Oh, that's right.
Which is why I just call him Smilo Ren, because you are insisting on this being a thing. Nobody asked you to make this a thing, but you are insisting that it is.
Yeah. Osha and him leave to go to the planet, and that's where we get our Count Orlok / Dark Plagueis little cameo.
This was the other thing that I saw, and I was like, that's never going to come up ever again.
No.
We're never going to get any closure on that ever again.
It's like, why does Darth Plagueis look like Gollum?
Why would he be skulking around in the corner?
And somebody on one of the reviews I watched had a good point. Does he just skulk every time Smilo Ren goes swimming naked? Does he just look at him as he's naked? But that was like the worst pigeonhole, because honestly, if you're not a Star Wars fan and you're watching this, you have no fucking idea who the fuck that was.
People are assuming it's Darth Plagueis.
It's gotta be.
But that's what they're assuming. But that's the thing, is that the writing here
is so
bad.
Why
would it be?
Yeah.
Why would it be, though, Steve? Why would anything be? Fucking Plo Koon died. We saw him die. Okay? Why would anything make sense?
That is true.
This is Snoke all over again. This is all the fans gathering around saying, oh, Snoke, it has to be this. He has to be this. He must be this. He is none of those fucking things, guys, because Disney doesn't think that far ahead. It's like everybody being like, oh, Captain Phasma, she's going to be this. She's going to be this. No, she's not. She's going to be nothing.
Yeah.
And this guy, he's going to be nothing. He might be Plagueis. He might just be nothing. Even if we get an answer on who he is, there's still a 75% chance that he is nothing to this whole story.
Well, I seriously doubt we're going to get a season 2, so he truly is nothing to the story, because we're never going to hear anything else about him.
That, to me, is just fans desperately trying to reach out and being like, oh, maybe he's Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Why would you believe that? What evidence have they shown us in the show? I get fan theories. But in the show, what have they shown us?
The only thing they could show you in the show is, obviously, Smilo Ren is an apprentice of a Sith Lord. It just would make sense for it to be him. But once again, they don't say anything.
And also, he tells us very directly, writing is very important. I had teachers who drilled into me that every word in the script should be there for a reason.
He's one, and he wants
You might call him a Sith. You might.
Yes.
Which means you also might not. So what the fuck is he?
Yeah.
What the fuck is he, guys? What the fuck does that mean?
He's a Slytherin.
Right? What is he?
I was waiting for them to say that.
Like, what is this shit?
Yeah, it's just...
And, like, they briefly talk about the rule of 2, but if he was doing the rule of 2, then he would have to kill his master in order to take on an apprentice. So if his master is there, just kind of skulking around, that means that he's not trying to take out his master, which means that he's not trying to commit to the rule of 2, which means that he's not a Sith!
Yeah. I don't get it. So everyone meets at this planet. And that's when we find out
that you can scan the planet and get information.
Yes, you can scan the planet.
And you can find out exactly where everything is.
Episode fucking looking for shit with a metal detector.
You gotta be fucking shitting me. They literally scanned the planet the very next episode. Yeah. Are you fucking out of your goddamn mind? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
How do you know? How did you write this? What backward ass drugs were you tripping on that you wrote all this, sewed it together, and then sold it to Disney? And also, Disney, what were you fucking on that this was put in front of you and you were like, oh, this is passable, this is fine?
It seemed like this was a bunch of executives who don't have any idea. Let's call this 80s executives who get pitched a Star Wars or comic book movie.
Yeah.
They have no idea about the concept, but they hear hit points they want to hear. Female-driven, female-led, multicultural cast, all the stuff they want to hear, and they don't ask, well, what's the story?
Yeah.
And they're like, just go with it. And it's like, okay, but what's the fucking story? And then when they probably heard it, they were like, oh, this sucks.
But we're too deep. We can't
They've
get
already
rid of it
made
now.
it. I mean, they already shot shit for season 2, they've said. And it's like, that's never going to fucking happen.
How could they ever release that? Who's going to watch it?
I really want to know why Dave Filoni was behind this series. If he is so-called...
He's the Godfather. He's supposed to be signing off on everything.
Exactly. And he has said, he's come out and said that he was behind this show. Like, he knew what they were doing. He knew everything about the show. And that pisses me off, because it's like, you're not a fan then.
Then you don't get it.
No.
Then you don't get it. If you were okay with all of this shit, I don't know what they told you to make you say that. But that sounds to me, because this show, after watching Rebels, this show is so antithetical to what Rebels is as a concept. Yes. And I can't believe that Dave Filoni, after Rebels and after Mandalorian and after the ups and downs of the last few seasons, would look at this and be like, yes, this is the direction to go in. The Jedi are secretly villains because they are religious, and all religious people in iconography is evil inherently. So they don't believe anything that they espouse, and they are just directly evil, using the religion as a scapegoat to get what they want.
To steal children from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kill indiscriminately. And it's like, here's the thing, though. I have never gotten that opinion from any Jedi I've ever hung out with, ever. And I've hung out with a lot.
Yeah.
I said earlier, I don't know Jonah Hex real well. I know the Jedi really well.
Yeah.
I know Master Yoda when I see him.
We're getting to that. No. We're getting to that.
Made me so mad.
Okay. The thing that made me mad the most in the show is the number one complaint I had from day one is these women are supposed to be twins. Mm-hmm. And the little girls look nothing alike. We find out when they get to the planet that not only are they twins, they are literally the same person.
Which they still haven't explained what the fuck that means.
They didn't explain how it means. But if they are the same person, they would have been fucking identical as children. And they were not fucking identical.
No.
That was like an extra nail in the coffin for my biggest complaint. It's like, you're telling me you couldn't find identical twins to play those girls. I don't get that part. Like, that's the part that really bothered me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it bothered me. I think it's just because that is a simple thing to get right away. Like, you write the show, you know where it's going. You know you're going to say that the part of these two being created with the Force is not only you're creating life, but you're creating identical life. They're pretty much clones of one another.
Well, not even clones. The implication is that they are one person split into two.
Yes.
They are cell divided.
And as adults, they are literally the same person, playing the same person with the same fucking haircut. So they are absolutely the same person.
And you can do a whole fight scene with her.
Yes.
Doing both sides of the fight scene, but you can't have one girl play both roles or actually have real twins.
I don't get that. Like, that is the dumbest. It's like they do not fucking look. I could pick them apart, even though Saul can't. I could pick those two girls apart.
Well, and apparently Saul should be able to, because he can sense her from across the planet.
And I'm just like, dude, when they said that made me so fucking mad. Because it was, you took my biggest complaint that I had early on, and you just fucking spit in my eye with it. And it's like, fuck you.
They just kept going with that kind of shit, though. Like, there were just so many moments where even the canon within the show, like, the way that they keep on trying to frame it that Saul was the villain the whole time.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I watched your show. I watched it really closely because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. Because if I'm going to dress you down, I'm going to do it with purpose and rationality. I'm not going to come in like some kind of half-assed jackass and be like, oh, I just hate this for the sake of hating it. No, I'm going to study down. You don't want me to hate your shit because I'm going to study down hard so I can drill down deep and really get to the root of what you were trying to do. And God help me, I don't know what you were trying to do.
I never understood with when May finally gets Saul to admit that he killed their mother. Was it Anisha?
Yeah.
It's Anastasia. Why he didn't say, I tried to stop her from phasing you out of existence, May, because that's what was happening.
This is my thing. He never at any point gave his argument as to why he did what he did.
None of them did.
It was just, you're evil because you killed this woman indiscriminately. No. He killed a cult leader who was about to sacrifice 2 children to gain power.
Yes.
That's what Jedi do. I don't understand what the problem is.
And even if she was only going to absorb May and she didn't lie when she said, I was going to let Osha go with you, she was still going to take this sentient being now.
This overwhelming implication wasn't that she was going to pass her energy on to Osha and Osha was going to, or May, and they were going to take over as leader then and there. It was that she was going to absorb whatever force power they had.
Yes.
That was the implication that you gave us as the showrunner.
Yes.
As the writer, director, showrunner. That was what you directly implied. Not the other way around. Not that this was some altruistic act of a mother trying to save her children. No. The implication, the heavy implication that you gave was that she was about to sacrifice the twins so she could fight these Jedi and run them off.
And you made her turn into... Do you ever see the remake of House on Haunted Hill with Jeffrey Rush?
No.
Good movie until the end because it had bad, like, early 2000s, late 90s CGI. But the CGI character is this demonic entity that looked just like Anastasia when she turned into mist. And so it's like, not only do you want Saul to say, yeah, just dissolve your girls, but you're going to make her turn into this terrifying death cloud and not have him do anything about it.
Well, a death cloud that we've never seen in Star Wars before.
Oh, well.
That's another thing, is that if we're just arguing...
It doesn't need to be in Star Wars
If we're just arguing on the basis of what he has seen.
Yeah.
If a force wielder suddenly starts turning into a giant cloud, that's probably not going to go real well for anybody around.
No, that's probably not good.
That's not good. That's not good at all. You
Yeah.
know what clouds do? They absorb the energy around them and then redistribute it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to go real well
No.
if you let this lady finish her spell.
Yeah.
So no, call me crazy. I don't think Saul did anything wrong.
No.
Even if his heart was in the wrong place or the Jedi think he was doing it for the wrong reason, which again is bullshit because we've heard from Jedi talk about the need for love in being a Jedi.
Yeah.
Having love for something or someone does not make you a bad Jedi. That's antithetical to everything the Jedi stand for, which you would know if you had stopped for 5 fucking seconds. But you're so myopic on this idea that all religion is bad except for pseudo-religion or anti-religion. But if you're stringent, if you have a temple, if you're religious, you're bad.
Yeah.
The fuck is this shit?
And they also forget when Saul got to the temple, he was going to stop Tobin until they saw the flame and heard the screams.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason they went up, because they wanted to save people.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, say that.
This show sucks.
That's so goddamn bad.
But May's not at fault, even though she set the fire and locked everybody inside.
And then Osha, who has come and go force powers, has the strength to
Darth Vader force choke
Saul, who lets her fucking do it
and kill him
because he's the worst Jedi ever.
Because I don't get it. Because I guess
he's the worst Jedi ever.
He still feels bad for defending them, and now they've convinced him that his reasons for defending them were ultimately selfish and wrong, even though, again, in all the various forms that I've been shown this story, unless there's some Rashomon coming in the next season, which I'm not going to see, I've seen the Rashomon that you've shown me. I've seen everybody's point of view. Saul did nothing wrong.
No, he didn't do fucking it. None of them did.
If anything, you could argue Trinity shouldn't have killed all the witches, but I don't think she knew that all the witches were going to die because we didn't know that all the witches were going to die.
She didn't kill them. She was trying to save a fellow Jedi.
Well, she was trying to save 3 Jedi.
It was self-fucking defense.
Because she was... I read about this. Again, I don't know if they knew this, but apparently Wookiees using their claws is very no-no in their culture. So they have to go into isolation if they do that.
Oh, I got you.
And so you could argue that Trinity comes in, she sees 2 Jedis fighting a mind-control Wookiee who is doing things that he would be horrified by seeing himself do.
Yeah.
So she tries to help her friends and students. And the way that she does that is by cutting off this weird magic, and then all the people doing the spell die. How is that the Jedi's fault?
Yeah, that's not
How is that the Jedi's fault? So the people on the people casting the evil, they're fine, even though they're casting evil and doing terrible things because I guess they love the girls, but not in a toxic way. even though I don't think Saul's love for the girls was toxic.
No.
I think he felt a kinship, a
He
connection
felt
to
that
them.
weird connection to just Osha that was strange, though.
Yeah.
Where he said, I know she's destined to be my Padawan. It's like, how the fuck do you know
Yeah,
that?
so like that was the only
Yeah.
that was the only step outside the usual Jedi bonds. Everything else he did, I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, like I don't get it.
I don't
get it. They didn't make anybody go. They didn't kidnap any children. They didn't commit any sins or arson or destruction. They did nothing wrong. But the show just keeps on hammering home for the last 20 minutes that the Jedi are evil. And, oh, have we opened your eyes to the evil of the Jedi? Can you believe how bad these Jedi were?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Bad and incompetent. Like, just
Incompetent,
truly incompetent.
yes.
And we'll talk about the end, super incompetence.
Yeah.
But, so, Saul's dead. Ocean may run off with Smilo Ren. And
Well, before
then,
we get into that, I do want to bring up that there's this fight between Saul and Smilo Ren.
Yeah.
Which, like, Saul had a hard time fighting Smilo Ren, and
Didn't
then
have a
all
hard
of a
time this
sudden,
time.
he was just trouncing Smilo Ren. My favorite, though, was when they're doing, like, the whole, saber to saber, I'm going to push my sword into you. And they have the sabers coming down towards Smilo Ren's head, like, that's going to be a problem. I'm like, you showed us that his helmet is impervious to lightsabers.
Yeah.
So what the fuck are you talking about?
Fucking deactivate it.
And then Osha throws Saul's lightsaber across the room, and it shatters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, so you guys just don't make good stuff ever at all. But that had to happen because Osha was so full of rage.
That's right.
She was so mad.
right.
She was so mad about being lied to and having Saul deceive her for so long and the toxicity of his relationship to her that she turned his blue lightsaber red.
Yeah. She bled into the crystal, and that turned the lightsaber red.
I don't even know if she bled into it.
Well, that's what I'm going to use quotation marks. The canon that supposedly they got this from is that you're like bleeding. It's not blood. It's like you're bleeding the darkness.
Well, so I looked this up.
Sorry, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the proper reaction.
Yeah.
That is the right reaction.
Yeah.
So I looked this up because I was like, I've seen a lot of Star Wars and I've never seen this shit happen
Never.
before. So I looked it up. I was like, are lightsabers like Green Lantern power rings? And I didn't know, and they're attached to emotion? No, they're not. What happens is that the Jedi have a specific kind of kyber crystal that they like to use. The Sith use an artificial kyber crystal, which they imbue with their hate and frustration and pain, which is what turns it red. Okay? So, yes, technically, but also it would have to be an entirely different type of crystal for that to be the case. That's the best case scenario. That's in canon. That's the best case scenario for this happening. Otherwise, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And we talked about this before the show. If that's how it happens, then how does Anakin in episode 3 kill all the younglings and his lightsaber doesn't change color?
Execute
and
Order
he
66.
literally kills children by the hundreds.
Hundreds of children of different ages.
Yes.
Not just like a handful of 8-year-olds. Hundreds of children.
4, 5, 6-year-olds, like
from
little
babies
children.
all the through to probably teenagers.
But
he
his
didn't leave
lightsaber
any
doesn't
Padawans
change.
behind. His lightsaber's still blue when he gets
Yeah.
to Mustafar. What the
It's
fuck
so
are we
fucking
doing?
dumb. It's so fucking
What
dumb.
is happening? Did no one proofread this? Did no one go through and be like, I don't know about this? What the hell is happening?
Well, and I truly believe this. I think Leslie Headland thinks she knows better than George Lucas.
At the very least,
I truly believe
she and
she thinks
Kathleen
that.
Kennedy seem to think so.
They
because
both
they
think
keep
they
on,
know better.
Well, they keep on talking about how they know better.
Yeah.
They keep on talking about how we don't have to do it George's way anymore. Is George's way Star Wars? Because if George's way is just Star Wars, then yes.
Yeah,
do
you
still
gotta
have to
do it George's way.
If George's way is
Abso-fucking-lutely.
metachlorians, no, we don't have to do that. If George's way is the entirety of what makes Star Wars, then yes, we
Yeah.
do still have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, look at Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry has been dead for decades. And the latest shows that have come out still do it Gene Roddenberry's way.
They still exemplify what he wanted the show to be about.
Because he's the fucking creator.
And but we Jedi are evil because they're religious, so they're just inherently evil.
Oh my god.
They're zealots and heretics, and they don't believe anything that they say, and it's just they're all just one Joker bad day away from all of them breaking bad.
It's so fucking bad.
Which, by the way, still not a thing that happened. And also, if that were to happen, then they would no longer be Jedi. Because here's the crazy thing about how this works. If you don't follow the principles of being a Jedi, and instead start following the principles of being a Sith, you stop being a Jedi,
yes,
and you start being a Sith. The overwhelming implication of me was Anakin Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker. Who stopped being a Jedi,
yes,
specifically because he did not like the Jedi rules, and turned to the dark side. You may have heard of it. Kind of a famous turn of phrase.
Yes.
Almost as famous as, what do you say? May the Force be with you. I really hope so. God, what is this writing? What is this shit-ass goddamn horrible fucking writing?
I was almost waiting to hear "May the thread tie us together" instead of "May the Force be with you."
I was just like, and then like even simple things like saying that they were a coven of witches that used the Force, but they don't say it that way.
No,
they say that they were a Force cult coven of witches.
Yes,
which is like, I guess that does work in terms of English, but like. This is not good syntax, guys.
Not even a little
This is not how you order words
like
in a statement.
Writing. So then anyway, we get to the girls escape with Smilo Ren, and...
Who's now the good guy.
And for some fucking reason, and all the other Jedis, Venestra and all the other Jedis show up, and
Basil. Basil leads the way.
Oh, he does lead the way,
Basil leads the way. And we were talking about how Disney just doesn't care.
Yeah.
One more way that I just remembered how Disney doesn't care is that in previous episodes, Basil's subtitles said that he was speaking the same language as the Wookiees. Not in this one.
No.
Which means that was an accident. Which means, again, you simply don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
You just simply don't care.
They know that most people won't remember shit like that.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter then for the story.
Yeah.
And then this was another one of those moments where I'm like, okay. May and Osha have reconciled. Smilo Ren wants Osha to come with him. She says,
this made no fucking sense.
She says, I will be your pupil. And they are like,
if May
instead
goes
of
free,
she'll lead the Jedi to Osha, even though she loves her. And it's like, okay, instead of the three of you just leaving the planet together and saying, we will drop May off at a star system that even the Jedi won't know.
Or, here's an idea, finishing the thought. You keep on implying that May and Osha are going to form into one being at some point.
There you go.
So, this might be a good moment for that to happen.
Yeah.
Under the magic tree nobody's supposed to touch, which is clearly the vergence that the Jedi have been looking for this whole fucking time, is this one tree they just keep on hammering home. Again, I get it.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I'm getting it. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So they don't turn into one person, and instead May gets her mind wiped.
And listen, I don't have a lot of love for Amandla Stenberg's acting. Her acting as May with her mind wiped was so laughably bad. I was laughing out loud. Because it's like, oh, they literally turned her into just like this staring. Oh,
she's almost lobotomized.
Yeah. That's what it seemed like.
And it's just like, but that's not what happened to her.
No.
And also, they said that Smilo Ren was just going to get rid of any memories of him and Osha. Not all of her memories back to when she was 8.
Yeah.
Which apparently is what he did. And also, since when can the Jedi fucking Men in Black you?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
I don't remember that. Mind tricks, sure. Mind tricks, absolutely. Full being able to just wipe all of a person's memories in just a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have come up at various points in time if that was a thing that could be done.
That was like the kiss at the end of Superman 2 where he kisses Lois Lane and she forgets everything about him being Superman. It's like, oh, I didn't know Superman.
I didn't know it worked that way.
I didn't know you fucking do that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
If he just got rid of all her memories until she was 8, she would still remember Osha.
Yeah.
that's not what
She would
that
remember
whole
her
thing was supposed
sister,
to be
but
about.
she doesn't.
Yeah.
She remembers that she has a sister, but she doesn't remember anything about her, including her name.
Yeah.
And it's just, but how does that keep OSHA safe?
I don't get
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
And then we have
none of this makes
just
sense.
this series of the longest shots trying to draw this thing out like fucking taffy.
Oh, it's so
Where
bad.
there was a moment where, so I was watching this through a bad internet connection. So I was just battling Spectrum while I was trying to watch this. So I ended up watching it on my phone because I truly didn't care by the end of this. I was like, fuck it. I just need to get this evil out of my body. It's got to go. And so I'm watching it on my phone and I'm skipping through at 10-second clips. And I'm realizing, holy shit, there is so much wasted time here. To the point where there's just like 20 seconds of Smilo, Ren, and Osha just staring out at the ocean as the waves crash in front of them. And I'm like, is this going anywhere? No.
Nope.
This is just a shot which is supposed to make you feel something, except I don't know what I'm supposed to feel because now all the bad guys are good guys.
What I thought they were doing in that, and they shockingly missed the mark on this, I think they were trying to duplicate the end of episode 3 when Vader steps up next to the Emperor and they're staring out the window, but they're watching the fucking Death Star being built to where I think that's what they were aiming for with this because they had the same kind of stance.
And to me, it almost felt referential to Luke on Tatooine looking out at the double sun setting. Because the sun is setting over the waves. And so it's just like, are they getting ready to go out on their mission? Like they've fully bonded. They're going to go out on their mission. None of this makes any fucking sense. It makes about as much sense as Smilo Ren's fucking sensory deprivation helmet.
Yeah. And now that she's on the planet and is his pupil, is he going to tell her about Darth Plagueis?
Is any of this ever going to come up again?
Like
there were so many elements that they just left hanging.
Yes.
Because they so clearly want a season 2 to the point where they end with Yoda's ears.
Okay, that was the most infuriating because you're telling me Yoda's part of the Jedi Council at this point in time.
So how long ago has it been? Really?
Yeah.
How long ago has it been? Because you keep going back and forth on this point.
Because when he dies in Jedi, does he say 800 years?
He's 900 years.
900 years. So has it been has it only been 900 years?
Is it another new millennia? What's going on?
Well, and it would be half that time because he's
old
in it. So has this only been like 300 years ago?
How long ago was this?
It can't be that long.
Because you guys made this big, hairy, stinking deal about how the Sith were no more, and all the Jedi knew that the Sith were gone, and nobody's seen a Sith in 1,000 years. You said 1,000 years. You put a number on it. Which, again, these creators would know if they had done any level of research. If they had watched one Star Wars movie, they would know how wrong all of this is.
Yeah.
I sent you a clip of it because I think it really demonstrates a big problem with this show. It's a montage of every time in every movie someone says, I have a bad feeling about this. You know why that line is in every fucking movie? Because you can feel things with the Force! They literally are feeling the Force telling them you're in a bad position, something bad is about to happen!
But this was the ultimate slap in the face of the Jedi, because you are taking who is arguably, and said by many to be the most powerful Jedi who ever existed, being Yoda. And he has no idea any of this shit is going on. And then when Vernestra goes in front of him and she's going to tell him that it was Saul that did all this and there was no Sith, and obviously he believes it because episode 1, he believes that there hasn't been Sith for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
He can't see through her deception.
Even in episode 2, when he's like, the Jedi are a little blind, but we don't want anybody to know about it. How long have you known that for? Apparently, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Because you just let this happen.
It's so bad.
It's just awful. This is awful garbage.
It's so bad.
And the fact that they left so much of it open to a season 2, I'm just like, fuck you guys. No, seriously, fuck you guys. I'm not watching this shit.
I still wonder if the Yoda thing was shot post the first couple episodes dropping. And they're like, wow, this reaction is so shitty. We need to put something at the end of this.
We need life preservers.
Because that's an easy scene that they could have shot in a day.
You know what they did put at the end of this? Another 90s ballad. Another 90s power ballad.
Which is what the fuck are you doing?
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Dude, this show is so fucking bad.
This show sucks. You know what's not the power of many? Apparently the Jedi, because one Jedi can fucking kill your entire cult when they're all doing one spell together. So that whole moment where you're like, 2 people pushing on one can do more than one pushing person. No, apparently not. Apparently that's not a thing.
And what this show has done also, present company accepted, and my close friends too, who know this show to be shit. This has opened up Pandora's box on the Star Wars apologists, because there are a couple podcasts I listen to, or IGN podcasts, and everyone on these podcasts are self-proclaimed Star Wars fans, like lifelong Star Wars fans. A, they all liked Obi-Wan. But then B, I'm like, you know what? You might get a pass on that, because I've had a lot of Star Wars fans try to admit that it was good even though it wasn't. They gave this show rave reviews, and then I actually heard one of them say, yeah, and that old age makeup on Tobin was so good.
Oh my God.
And I was like, fuck, you've lost literally every sense of credibility.
You guys don't know shit about Pokemon. You just showed me that you don't know a goddamn thing. You're either A, being able to be bought, or B, so dumb as to think that this is true.
And this is what I don't get about Star Wars fandom. Like, you are a huge Star Wars fan, and you can see bad from good.
Yeah. It comes out like a giant... It's like being able to see a truck coming down the road. Like, I get it. Sometimes you don't look and you get hit by the truck. But most of the time, if you look, you will see the truck coming barreling down the road.
Yeah. But, like... And I'm not saying young Star Wars fans, because, like, my son loved The Acolyte, but he's 9. He doesn't really understand good and bad cinema yet.
Yeah.
Those of us who are in our 30s, 40s, and 50s and up, who grew up with Star Wars, that say that they like this, it's like, how can you like something that took everything you loved and took a massive turd dump on it, and you're like, you know what? That turd dump, though, I think that's a lightsaber. I kind of like that. And it's no!
I like Smiler Ren's helmet. I like it.
I
think it's fun.
You can't like this. You can't. If you are a fan of Star Wars, it is... I will not accept that you like this show.
But did you see Vanestra's whip lightsaber?
No.
And we got a Wookiee Jedi fight. Isn't that enough? Isn't that what you wanted? No. What I wanted was an old Republic story.
Yeah.
That's what I thought this was. That's what everybody seemed to think it was.
And once again, to preface this, folks... You and I actually were looking forward to the show.
Yeah.
Like, I was very much looking forward. Like, the trailer and everything had me. I was looking forward to the show. So it's not like I went into this ready to destroy it, because we were coming off of Andor season 1, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe.
Well, and if you go back to the first episode that we covered this on anyway, when we're talking about it, I'm talking about how I like Saul as a character, because he's the one thing that I can kind of latch onto and be like, this is the closest to Star Wars we're getting right now. And that just deteriorated so fast. And it just, like, how can you look at okay, let's set aside the giant mountain that we came to look at.
Yes.
Right? So taking out the fact that it's Star Wars, which is stupid, because that should be what we're talking about. Let's just talk about the filmmaking and writing of the show. It's terrible. It's terrible. Like, I've seen student films with a greater grasp of how to tell a story than this.
Well, and I think you just got to the heart of the matter. It's nowadays, because if you look at some reviews of modern films that are not made well, that's never a criticism of the film. I think people nowadays have gotten so used to poor filmmaking that when they see it, they don't register that it's bad.
Yeah.
Because they won't go back 30 years and watch an old movie, something that's made well, something that has good storytelling, something that doesn't rely on special effects or rely on taking canon that's beloved by others and making a story around it, even though it ruins it.
Yeah.
They don't look at that shit. And I think that's the problem you and I are having, is we go into this, A, we want to see a good story, but B, when we see bad filmmaking, we're like, this is really fucking bad.
It's the difference between Venom and Upgrade. Conceptually, extremely similar stories.
Yes.
A person has another entity entered into their body. That entity can take over and solves a lot of their problems, including helping them to get revenge on someone who has wronged them. If you look at the filmmaking of Venom versus Upgrade, it's not even close. And then we get into the canon of it. Upgrade is so much better of a symbiote story. than any of the Venom movies ever even come close to. So when it comes to this kind of shit, this is why I was talking about Rebel Moon last week. The off-brand should not be closer to the original recipe than the original recipe. We are so deep in New Coke at this point. Like, that's what Star Wars has become, is that it's New Coke, and Disney is just trying to sell us like, no, but it's New Coke.
Yeah.
And it's better than old Coke. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just not. And Crystal Pepsi, also terrible.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that this is great and this is just the way that things are now and that I'll get used to it. I don't want to. I don't believe you. And I reject your reality and I substitute my own.
Yeah. And I don't want to bring this up beating dead horses, because every time it seems like we talk about a negative Star Wars thing, I'll bring up a positive Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
But
Strange New Worlds is coming back.
Strange New Worlds. But you look at Alex Kurtzman. So he was the one that worked with J.J. Abrams. He wrote the original 3 of the Kelvin series with Chris Pine. They got such backlash with episode 2, Star Trek Beyond, Into Darkness, that they made Beyond, and Simon Pegg helped write it. And we agree Beyond is better in a lot of ways.
I think Beyond is my favorite of the 3, honestly. There's a lot of elements I really like about Beyond.
I did rewatch it, and I will have to agree, I still think they underutilize Idris Elba, but I do like it. But if you look at the shows that have come out, Discovery, even though it wasn't my favorite show, they tried to tell the story, and they were way ahead on the inclusion thing. I mean, Star Trek's always been way ahead on the inclusion. Going back to the 60s with the first interracial kiss, for fuck's sake. That's
part of the vision that Gene Roddenberry had.
But there still was the essence of Star Trek. They didn't change how Star Trek works. Same thing with Picard. Might not love some of the stories, but they don't change how Star Trek works. They just overplayed a couple things.
Maybe the Borg a little bit. Like a little bit.
Okay, the Borg a little bit.
In season 2, like a little.
A little bit. But then you look at Strange New Worlds, and it's like, the thing that you will take away from watching that show is they focused more on the characters and the storyline and less on the special effects and the fact that it's a sci-fi show.
And they also, not to cut you off, they also do fan service well.
Yes.
Where there's elements I remember when we were watching season 1 and there's the diplomatic episode where Pike is in the green shirt. And I'm like, why is Pike in this weird green shirt? And you sent me a clip from the 60s. And I was like, oh, that's why Pike is in this weird green shirt. All the way to they're on a planet and they find a Scottish engineer. And you're like, holy shit. Holy shit.
It's fucking awesome.
And you get that all the way through.
And the way they do Kirk, the way they do Spock, having Kirk, Spock, and Uhura get together in that one, that's the kind of thing. I mean, that goes back to the biggest criticism for the sequels, Star Wars sequels, where you never once again had a scene that had Chewie, Han, Luke, and Leia together. Ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, Star Trek Picard Season 3, love it or hate it, you had the scene of all the fucking Next Generation cast on the bridge of the Enterprise going into fucking battle.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if, they could have had dead air for every episode, but as a Star Trek fan, that's what I wanted to fucking see, and I saw it.
Yeah.
And it's like, even the Q ones that, we had issues with Season 2, seeing Picard and Q together, even seeing Picard and Whoopi Goldberg together, it's like, that's what we fucking want. We will forgive some things if you can tell a good enough story and you don't change the canon.
It's them walking onto the Enterprise in season 3 and having the cast talk about like, oh, I miss these carpets.
Yes!
It's that. That's... You wanna... I don't know if we're gonna get to Justice League Crisis today. We might do it next week.
The week after. It might be the week after.
Yeah, because we're. Oh, that's right. Because we got Deadpool too.
Which should give me a chance to rewatch them anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Me too. I'm so jazzed.
I know. I can't wait. And that's why I want to rewatch them too.
I know. And I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
I want to give it time to brew and boil. But the way that they use John Constantine.
Yes.
Is so fucking good.
And how they connect it to Apocalypse War.
It's so fucking everything.
Literally
there's lines to everything.
Yeah.
We were complaining about some of these movies that there seemed to be just these hanging chads you weren't sure what to do with. They're all capped.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is capped. Now, is every decision great? No. There's a weird moment where Two-Face is standing in the background while Wonder Woman's giving a eulogy, and you're just like, why is this a thing? I don't understand. But overall, this is the fan experience you want to have.
Yes.
And having John Constantine be a literal audience surrogate in a lot of ways, where he remembers all the old shit and the new shit.
Yes.
It's so cool, and it brings you in so forcefully into the story. It makes you feel like you're part of the story, and it's so exciting. And that's what you come to fandom stuff for. You come to it for the recognition, for someone to say, I see you, and I see the time and love that you have put into this thing. I also have put time and love into this thing.
Yeah.
And so let me show you that I see your devotion by showing you my devotion.
Yeah.
And Acolyte had none of that. It was
no.
It ran away from that.
And looking at all the actors and the showrunners, not once in ever did Hayden Christensen come out against the fans who gave him all the backlash. And even though it wasn't his fault, it was all George Lucas, the writing and the directing. Yeah. Not once did he come out and say, you're wrong, you know what you're talking about. You know, he actually, in a lot of ways, apologized. Kind of the same George Clooney to this day still apologized for Batman and Robin. Because he's like, I knew I made a pile of shit.
Yeah.
And instead of these actors going, you know what? There was a vision. It just didn't work out. I apologize. They're like, nope, you don't know what you're talking about, fans.
It says more about you that you don't like this than it does about us that we made it this way.
And I'll tell you what, I am getting really fucking tired for being told I'm wrong because I'm an old white guy. I'm dead serious. It's like, listen, I will say to the end of time, some of the worst human beings that have ever lived and are still on this planet are old white men. Yeah. They have done most of the bad shit. But you know what? We ain't all fucking bad. And our opinion ain't all that way.
Not all of us are that way.
No.
I do have that moment a lot these days of being like, not all of us are that way.
It's to the point now where at first I'm like, you know what? I need to take it because, I am part of a lineage of horrible fucking... But now it's like, fuck you. I'm tired of being told that. I am as progressive as fucking anybody in a lot of ways.
I'm working so hard to make the world a better place around me. And the last thing I need for you to do is chastise me because I'm a man.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anything. Judge me on the content of my character. Judge me on what I do.
Exactly.
And understand that this has nothing to do personally with any women or individuals of any kind. This has everything to do with people of any sort at any level coming in and seeing an opportunity to make money off of something that I desperately love and identify deeply with. And they make a bad show because they're more interested in making money. And then they blame me for the show doing badly because I didn't like it.
Yeah. We're coming from a point of, and I am going to be completely, this is going to sound so arrogant. You and I have an expertise when it comes to this shit. Primarily because we have watched so many fucking movies and TV and read magazines and comic books and played video games. I would say that we are experts when it comes to critiquing this shit. Can we make this shit fuck no.
No.
Like,
but
I
also,
can't.
Look at Roger Ebert.
Yes.
Look at Roger Ebert. Watch Beyond the Valley of the Dolls and tell me that he shouldn't make any film commentary ever again.
Yes.
I agree with my beloved Craig Johnson of Welcome to the Basement fame, where it colors his commentary on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I look at this and I'm just like, I might not be able to make great shit, right?
No.
And I might be able to. I don't know. I've never been given an opportunity to, which is my fault because I haven't put myself out there.
True.
And I fully admit that. And that's important to the whole thing, is that I admit that.
To me, there's a big difference between saying I can make great things or I can tell what's a great thing.
I still know what smells bad when I smell it.
Yes.
If I smell garbage and you tell me, no, that's not garbage, that's my new rose bed, there's something wrong with your rose bed because it smells distinctly of garbage.
Yeah. I can't make a car, but if I get into a 1978 Gremlin and then I get into a brand new Aston Martin, I can tell what's good and what's not because I've driven enough fucking cars in my life.
Well, and we are also of an ilk where I did this for Acolyte. When I don't know something, I don't come out and say, that's not how lightsabers work. I look it up to make sure that I'm right.
Yeah.
And then when I see that I'm right, then I come out and I say, that's not how lightsabers work.
Yes. And and I think the thing that we also have going for us is I think a lot of the online criticisms, and this was the big critique of the 2016 Ghostbusters. Most of the people that criticized it didn't watch it. We watched this shit.
I think the extended Ghostbusters Turn Out the Dark or whatever it is, I don't think it's terrible.
The first half isn't. The second half is awful.
I think
the first half is actually okay.
There's too many dance scenes in the extended cut. I will say that.
Way too many.
There's too many dance scenes. But overall, you can do a lot worse. I would still say that overall I like it more than the actual second Ghostbusters. I would be more interested in watching that than the second Ghostbusters. Dude, that Statue of Liberty scene is just a
But that's the same thing, though. That's the same thing as Ghostbusters 2016, is the first half was good, and then the second half just went off the rails and turned to shit. But it's like, see, that's the thing, though, is we've seen literally thousands. Like, folks, I can't even stress to you. Like, I want you to listen to our show because you need to understand the amount of content we have taken in our lifetimes. I used to work at Blockbuster Video where you could rent 5 free videos a week. I would take out 10 total videos a week for like 2 years. And I'm not joking when I say 10 a week, and that doesn't count what I watched on like HBO and all that.
I've watched over 100 movies every year for as long as I've kept track, which is over 10 years.
Easy.
So like it's just a regular thing for me. My voodoo is 800 movies strong.
Yeah. It's like we know what we've seen every genre of every year. I mean, we're gushing about Indian Bollywood or Tollywood movies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we see everything, so we know. Like, our criticism is legitimately based on an expertise that comes from, what do they say? You do 10,000 hours to become an expert. Easily, we've put in over 10,000 hours of watching and taking in this shit.
I know who Muybridge is. I watched Battleship Potemkin. I'm not saying that I read every story in the Star Wars canon. I did not. I have very strong feelings about the extended universe pre-Disney buyout.
Yes.
But I did do my thesis statement for college on Star Wars.
Yeah.
I talked about the way Star Wars is seen in culture and what it represents and what it becomes and what Disney wants it to be, or what studios in general, because at that point Fox still owned it, studios want it to be versus what it actually is and how they sell it to us.
Yes.
That was what I talked about. I know what I'm talking about, and it's infuriating to see this, not just because the desolation of the canon, which is on its own evil.
Yeah, so
right?
terrible.
It's evil. It's as evil as blowing up the stone faces to make Rushmore.
Yeah.
You know, that was an evil act. This is also an evil act.
Yes.
But if we take that out of the question, you still have to deal with some of the stupid writing and directing and acting choices. And I don't even blame the actors. I really blame the writers and the directors.
Yeah.
More than anybody else.
The only reason I blame the lead actress is because she came out so fiercely against the fans.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, don't fucking... The fans are why you have a fucking job. Don't come out against... And like, maybe look at what you made first from their perspective before you just go off on them.
Yeah. I'm so glad that the whole thing is done. That's gonna be my last word.
But now there's this whole fucking skeleton crew, and I don't know what that's gonna be. And the fucking Rey Star Wars movie they're making.
I can tell you right now, assume it's going to be bad, because at worst it's bad, at best it's good, and you're surprised.
Yeah.
But this is my honest advice to Marvel and DC, Star Wars. Any fan of anything that has reached that giant umbrella status, guard your heart.
Yes.
Anticipate that it's going to be bad, because at the very least, if it's good, you'll be surprised. And if it is bad, then you already knew it was going to be bad coming into it.
Yeah. I mean, take solace in the fact that there are still people, and I know I brought them up before. Go back to that first Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
That is a fan who has control, that makes something that fans adore.
You know how you can tell that Ryan Reynolds knew what he wanted to do, had a vision, and executed it properly, and that vision was in line with what fans wanted? Colossus had been in 4 movies before that.
Yes.
Colossus had never been in an actual movie until Deadpool.
Yep.
That was when Colossus was in
Colossus.
a movie.
Yep.
He had been in 4 movies, and none of them were actually Colossus that entire time.
Always my favorite X-Men, and when I saw him, I almost started crying at Deadpool, because it's like, that's
I'm still
Colossus.
mad that they gave Nightcrawler the tattoos all over his body instead of fur.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? What are we doing? He's called the Hairy Elf for a reason. He's furry. He has fur everywhere.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that. Well, folks, that was a very entertaining, at least for myself and Al here, episode 147 of NerdPod Generations. We really hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to next week. Once again, we're going to be doing Deadpool and Wolverine watch and review. So the show, I'm hoping, is going to be a good show.
Guard your hearts.
Movie. I'm really hoping. Om Num Shiba. I don't want to betray Shiba.
Right.
That's a deep cut for those of you that don't know.
Indiana Jones, baby.
Yeah, I bet.
They named the dog Indiana.
That's right. The dog. So that was 147. So please go back, listen to our back catalog, and also make sure nerdpodgen.com. Go to that website. Let us know what you think about everything. And Al, once again, who does our music and our artwork?
Our art is by Kortney Howell.
That's a great job.
Theme song is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly.
I love it.
I am Alfred Judson.
I'm Steve Taylor. I'm
really
tired.
Really tired. And I just pray to the gods, Ryan, don't hurt me, Ryan. This is the last time I'm going to talk to you before we record. Don't hurt me.
Fingers crossed, baby.
Have a great week, friends.